G'day, it's Gary Briggs speaking. I want to talk to you about our new Dingo fencing system. The Dingo fencing system is for electric fences, about 6 kilometres a day, takes 2 guys to do the job, and away we go. It all starts with the 6-wheeler vehicle out front. We need to have a 6-wheeler vehicle because that really makes a big difference. You've got to be able to carry about 1.5 to 2 tonne of materials with you as you go. It has to be an automatic vehicle. Then of course you get the Dingo fencing machine, followed by the UTV, which is used to mark all the straight line. The straight line has to be GPS plotted, and we've converted this particular UTV to be auto steer. See here, there's no one steering the thing. It's actually plotting the line between 2 points and then it's laying out a die line behind the machine. So all the driver's got to do when you get the fencing machine going is to follow that very straight line. Now the trailer itself has been designed so it will actually fit inside a 20-foot shipping container, so that's why we can fold it down for transport reasons. Once it's all folded up and ready to go, there's just nothing else to do except start fencing. We've already got the wire and the post already loaded on the machine, and the Dingo's there, and as you can see, we're just starting to get ready. We just drove the post. That was the first strainer post of the strainer assembly. We put the strainer post in, then you put the first stay rail in, move the machines forward a little bit, and drive the second strainer post through the eye of the stay post, of the stay rail. So we're just driving that second strainer post in at the moment, and we're getting ready to actually start making a fence. What we'll do is we'll move forwards just a little bit out of the road so we can actually start pulling the wires through and tying them off. The strainer posts are actually 2.1 metres long and actually go in the ground about 1 metre, so there's plenty of strength in this strainer assembly. So we've started and we're putting in the first wire, and we're starting to pull the wires through the whole system. Then we'll there's actually going to be 3 stay rails in the strainer assembly, and the wires are just put through. Gripples are put on the end so we can actually strain it up later on with the gripple system, and away we go. Now we actually strain through our insulators. Because it's an electric fence system, we actually have to have everything insulated. We actually have a special system of insulators and clips so we can actually strain through the insulators, which is really, really unique. Because it's an electric fence, we don't need a lot of strain in our wires because nothing's ever going to touch it, nothing leans on it, and so we don't strain to huge strain of things like you do with a barbed wire fence. Here we are putting the second stay rail in, which is a middle rail. So we're just gradually getting the whole system together. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to put a strainer assembly together. So you've got one on each end of the whole system, and once you've got the strainer assembly in, away you go, you just start laying fence out. As you can see, we've pulled the wires out of the back of the fencing machine. We've got the 6 wires in there, and so you'll find the bottom wire will be an earth, and then your third wire will be an earth, and your 5th wire will be an earth. So you've got 3 live wires, which will be the number 2, 4 and 6. We find that's the best combination. Our wires towards the bottom are much closer together.
He's all nervous.
And we're always going to have the bottom wire as an earth almost on the ground, so that if you're actually going through a bit of a gilguy or melon hole or whatever, you've got a reason for the kangaroo or sheep or whatever it happens to be that's trying to go under the fence to actually step up between 2 wires, and therefore he's going to get a super good boot out of the electric fence system. Once you've got the strainer assembly in, away you go. So what we use is about a 30 metre spacing between the running posts. Now the running posts are actually a different size post to what the strainer posts are. The strainer posts are an 80mm post, the running posts are a 60mm post. And they're a little bit shorter. They're actually 1.75 metres long, which actually allows you to put the post in the ground about 600mm and leaving about 11 out of the ground. So your wires are just a normal fence height. Because it's an electric fence, that works for us totally, because if a roo or whatever comes to a fence and it's already been bitten by that fence a couple of times, they will never bother to jump the fence. They will always try and find a way around the fence. So that's why the fencing system works. And of course, if we're talking actual dingoes, wild dogs, they hate electricity, they will not go through this. In fact, I reckon it's almost good enough to handle rabbits as well. It is such a strong electric fence, it's totally controlled by the electricity, and the fact that we've got plenty of wire, plenty of droppers on the fence. Most of these posts are actually just pushed into the ground on our black soil country, but if the country happens to be a little bit harder, a hammer can start hammering. We just, quite in the black soil just works. But we haven't found anywhere we can't knock the posts in. In fact, we can knock them through our gravel road. That's no problem at all. There's plenty of power in the machine, there's plenty of weight in the machine. An interesting fact is the machine itself, the Dingo Fencing Machine, the trailer itself, weighs about 3.5 tonnes when it's actually got the dingo and all the gear on it. So there's plenty of weight to push the post down. You can see here the magazine of posts. Now the posts are a special shape. They're basically a H shape that actually spoon onto each other, so that magazine there's got about 50 posts in it, which is enough to do a kilometre and a half of fence. And they're all just spooned onto each other with the insulators already on them and the wire already threaded through all the holes. And this is the secret of what we're doing. We're actually putting the wire through the post before we start. And it's very easy when they're all in a magazine like that. Come out of the magazine a bit like bullets out of a gun, and it just all works together. And as you drive forwards and you stop every 30 metres or so, and you put another post in the ground, and away you go again. And it actually takes you about 30 seconds to put a post in the ground. You're moving forwards at more than 50 posts per hour. So as you can see there in this part of the thing, it's actually using reels of wire, not ordinary coils of plain wire. We use reels of wire because they have to be precision wound. If you're going to pull 6 wires at a time like we are, then you certainly don't want to get a tangle in your wires. You would just take hours to untangle yourself. So you run this precision wound wire. It actually costs about the same as the other coils of wire, so there's no downside to it, it's just darn good wire. And we use a medium tensile 2.5mm wire, which is very common in all electric fences and standard ring-lock, hinge-joint and fabricated fences. We operate it on a machine, just sit all the time, and the other guy's in the vehicle driver. Now, it's all powered by the Dingo. The Dingo, as you see in there, that little bit of yellow in there is the Dingo Mini Digger. Now that's our largest size Dingo. It needs to be the largest size Dingo because it actually has to lift the wire up as high as it does, because you can't lift those coils of wire by yourself. They're 60 kilos each. So the Dingo lifts the wire, it also lifts the post. It also runs the machine all day, but then when you get to the gateway, it actually trenches the electric cable under the ground as well, under the gateway. So the Dingo does all the jobs for you, it does all the hard work, and the two men can take it fairly easy, work in the shade, as you can see. We're taking the stay rails off the top of the ute, and that's again why you need a large ute. You've got to carry a heap of stay rails with you along with all the other stuff. So we've reached the other end of this bigger section of fence. We've put the first strainer post in. We're now just moving forward to the length of the stay rail. Then we'll drive the second strainer post through the eye of the stay rail. And again, repeat what we did at the start of the fence. We actually just do all the make a strainer assembly. At the end of which we're going to strain up. So we just do that there now. We've got the stay rails in. We just got to put the second strainer post in. And away it goes. Now on this particular one you will hear the hammer start up because we struck a little bit harder ground towards the bottom of the hole. So remember, when we're down about 1 metre in the ground, the hammer's the last little bit down into the ground just to do the job properly. And if it had been harder rock country, we would have been hammering for most of the way. But it actually doesn't take hardly any longer to actually do that through the hard stuff than it does through this softer black soil country. As I said before, we actually strain through the insulators. So we're just setting up the insulators in the end post here and getting ready to do the whole strainer assembly, which really only takes 10 minutes if you're fast, 15 minutes if you're slow. Because we drove the two strainers in beside the wires, we've got to actually go back and pull them through the holes. Of course, they're not threaded onto our system at the time at either end. We carry them as spare as posts separately, and we just drive them in separately to the posts that are lined up in the magazine. Got to put your rails on, got to get them up the right way, and the middle rail there is actually right against the earth wire, so it doesn't matter if it touches it, but of course you've got to have your main live wires totally away from anything that's going to earth them. So you put your that stay in there is actually threaded rod, so that's the fastest way to do it. So we just use a piece of threaded rod with a nut on each end, so later on you can actually, if the strainer assembly starts to get a little bit loose, you can actually just tighten it up by running a spanner on the thread. Here we're using the gripple tool to just pull the tension into the fence. Now, as I think I said before, you don't have to have a high strain, just enough, because it is an electric fence and nothing ever leans on it. You know, here we are at the end of it all. We actually cut the wires a bit short and we actually roll it into a little loop because we want to use this for our gateways later on. So what we do with our gateways, and we'll show you this very shortly, we just hook our hooks into the loops at the end of the wire. One thing you've got to do is, if there's only the two guys, you've got to go back and put the droppers on. But in this case, we've got a third person actually putting the droppers on for us as we're going along. So he's been coming along behind, and he actually keeps up about the same speed as it takes us to put the fence up. There, he's actually putting 2 droppers between each post. We use 10-metre spacings for our droppers. And there's a couple of reasons for the droppers. It's not particularly because we need them, because the electric fence works well enough there. They actually give us visibility. If you don't have the droppers, the galvanised wire and the aluminium posts sort of blend into the sunlight, and you sometimes don't see the fence. So for the point of view of the animals and human beings, we like to see the fence much more visible, and the black plastic dropper does that for us. With our gateways, we want to see big wide gates because cattle and sheep that get used to electric fence do not want to go through narrow gateways because they're afraid of the fence. So what we do is a big wide up to 20-metre gates, because that suits machinery as well as cattle and sheep. And we just use the tape for the gates. Nothing goes through. The tape being charged just works for us, and both the ferals and the domestic stock just learn that you do not go near white tape. So we use the big wide tape because it's got better visibility. When people go through the gate, they just sort of walk along and it's all good. They just drop the gate and just drive over the top of it. What we do with our earth and charge wires coming through under the gate, we actually always go to the top wire as a main wire right through the whole fence. By doing this, when we're breaking it down at each section, you can actually test if it happens to be a problem anywhere on the fence. You can find where it is. Okay, we utilise this brand of UTV, which is known as an AgMax, for specific reasons. It's the only one I can find that's actually got this front tray body, which is really good for putting our liquid on and carrying all our droppers and our insulators and all the other bits and pieces we need. It's also got power steering, which is really important for our GPS control. So this machine has been converted to full auto steer GPS control. So we have power steering on here. Then we've also got a very flat tray body at the rear, which is great for all our droppers. So therefore this machine beats all the other brands that are available because of its basic truck-like simplicity.